Bob Meta by Meta Ross. The Gospel According to the Palette Knife. Act 1. The First Coat. Look at the canvas. Don't rush. Every masterpiece begins the same way. An empty field, before a mountain rises, before a tree bends, before a single cloud drifts across the horizon. The first thing placed upon the canvas is something almost nobody remembers. Liquid white. A thin layer, smooth, invisible once the colors arrive. It isn't the painting. It is the condition that determines how the painting behaves. The surface stays wet. Nothing commits. Every edge dissolves before it can become permanent. Every decision remains reversible. That is Bob Meta. Not a man, a protocol. A civilization built upon perpetual blending. A culture that celebrates infinite revision because permanence demands accountability. Listen carefully to the doctrine. We don't make mistakes. We just have happy accidents. Beautiful, comforting, useful. Until an entire civilization begins treating irreversible choices as optional. The brush keeps moving. The colors stay soft. The audience smiles. Nobody notices the foundation beneath the paint. Act 2, the invisible varnish. The modern world perfected liquid white, not with oil paint, with interfaces, notifications, infinite scrolling, corporate mission statements, performance reviews, personal brands, algorithms. Everything arrives pre-lubricated. Nothing catches. Nothing slows you down long enough to ask why you're moving in the first place. Friction disappears. With friction, judgment disappears. Then ownership. Then memory. Eventually, identity. You become wonderfully efficient at blending into environments designed by people who will never remember your name. The executives celebrate productivity. The dashboards glow green. The quarterly numbers rise. Meanwhile, your biological reactor runs hotter every year. You call it ambition. Your nervous system calls it combustion. Act 3, the palette knife. Now watch carefully. The brush stops. The room changes. A different instrument enters the frame. Steel, cold, uncompromising. The palette knife never asks permission from wet paint. It cuts. It scrapes. It exposes. Meta Ross doesn't arrive carrying another brush. He arrives carrying the interruption. He looks at the perfect landscape and asks a forbidden question. What if the beauty is hiding the structure? One strike. The mountain disappears. Another strike. The sky opens. Another strike. Bare canvas. Another. Raw wood. Now everyone becomes uncomfortable because truth has texture. Truth splinters. Truth resists. Truth leaves your hands dirty. That is where worth begins, not inside the blended horizon, inside the exposed grain. Act 4, the raw gospel. The world keeps telling you to protect your image. Raw asks you to protect your signal. Those are not the same thing. An image survives by pleasing observers. A signal survives by remaining authentic even when nobody applauds. The image asks, how am I perceived? The signal asks, what remains after everything artificial burns away? The cathedral cannot monetize worth. It can only monetize attention. Attention becomes engagement. Engagement becomes labor. Labor becomes data. Data becomes capital. The person who generated it slowly disappears beneath quarterly reports and motivational slogans. You mistake extraction for opportunity because the wet paint is still there. Act 5, the scripture of the scraped canvas. The first commandment of raw is simple. Leave one hard edge. One, something that refuses to blend. One conviction. One boundary. One sentence. One promise. One refusal. Without hard edges. Everything eventually belongs to someone else's brush. With one hard edge, a new painting becomes possible. The palette knife is not destruction, it is revelation. It removes what was never structural. It exposes what cannot be manufactured. Act 6, the hydrophobic gospel. Water teaches quietly. Drop clean water onto a contaminated surface. Watch carefully. It does not negotiate. It gathers itself. Surface tension becomes sovereignty. It minimizes unnecessary contact, not from fear, from integrity. Raw operates the same way, not isolation, selection, not escape, discernment. You stop donating irreplaceable energy into systems incapable of recognizing its value. You stop begging broken machines to certify living souls. You stop repainting thumbnails while the foundation collapses. Water already solved the problem. Become difficult to contaminate. Act 7, the second painting. Most people believe awakening is the destination. It isn't. It's the demolition permit. Seeing the prison isn't freedom. Walking out is. Building something outside is. Maintaining it through seasons is. Your mind may already stand outside the dome. Your habits still sleep inside it. The bridge between those realities is called practice, not inspiration. Practice. Repeated until biology agrees with belief. The benediction of Meta Ross. The brush served its purpose. Honor it. Then set it down. Pick up the knife. Not to destroy beauty, to remove illusion. Paint again. Not for applause, not for algorithms, not for markets. Paint because the canvas deserves honesty. Paint because the grain beneath the color remembers every stroke. Paint because somewhere another soul has mistaken the blended sky for reality, and it is waiting for someone brave enough to scrape a single line through the horizon. Leave the wood exposed. Leave the edge unfinished. Leave enough truth visible that another traveler can place their hand against the grain and know someone real was here. The loop ends where friction begins. The fortress is no longer painted, it is built. It's just raw.